Good morning. I welcome you to Morning Encouragement today. It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina. I woke up this morning thinking about the coastline of North Carolina and the beauty down there that we see each time we visit that area. And was thinking about some of the history of our state. Just thinking about some of the things that make us as North Carolinians very passionate about our Tar Heel state. A recent survey by one of the moving companies, United Van Lines, I believe it was, said that North Carolina is still one of the states that has more people moving into it than any other state. So people love to come to North Carolina because of the beauty. Got great history here as well. I was thinking about that this morning. I wanted to share some history of North Carolina with you if you don't know it. It's interesting because so many firsts happened here in North Carolina. You're probably familiar with the fact that the Wright brothers, the fathers of aviation, made their first successful flight from Kitty Hawk down on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We are first in flight. The Biltmore Estate up in the Asheville area is one of the largest private residences ever built. It's a beautiful and now an extremely popular tourist attraction. Pepsi Cola was invented here in North Carolina, in New Bern, North Carolina. Krispy Kreme, that favorite donut of many, many people, was first created in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Of course, there's all kinds of crops that have grown well here, sweet potatoes, cotton, tobacco, all grow well in this area, and many, many people have enjoyed the benefits of those crops over the years. The Great Smoky Mountains are in our state, and even the National Park of the Great Smoky Mountains is located here in North Carolina. There's also the popularity of NASCAR, the racing institution that now has its Hall of Fame in Charlotte here in North Carolina. And of course, Cheerwine, that drink that was often confused to be alcoholic is not. It's a soft drink. Cheerwine, was first manufactured right here in North Carolina as well. It's now becoming very popular around the nation, I understand. As I thought about the history of North Carolina, I thought particularly about those Outer Banks and the Wright Brothers Museum. We visited that. Sandra and I were down there a few years ago and visited the Outer Banks and had a great time. We visited all the lighthouses along the Outer Banks. And that's really the point of my mentioning this to you this morning on Morning Encouragement. As we visited the lighthouses, we were amazed. Some we were able to go up into and see the great spectacle of the view and the great light that had warned many ships along the coastline. But in visiting those lighthouses, we learned some interesting facts. We learned that along the Outer Banks of North Carolina is what's called the graveyard of the Atlantic. It's a nickname for those treacherous waters along the coast. And I got to researching that recently and found out that now the records show that over 5,000 ships have been sunk right along the Outer Banks of North Carolina, those treacherous waters. The Diamond Shoals there, right off Cape Hatteras, are one of the most challenging stretches of ocean to navigate anywhere in the world. 5,000 ships and many, many lives were lost right there in those ocean waters. That's why those lighthouses are so prominent all along there. 7 or 8 of them, I think, along the Outer Banks. And as we visited those, I thought about the purpose of a lighthouse. And it brought me back to my spiritual thought for today. You know, Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16, "Let your light so shine among men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." In other words, he said anything that will glorify the Father that you do in your life will not be glorifying him if your light's not shining. What's that mean? That we ought to have a brilliant testimony for the love of God and the mercy of God. You see, God sends out the great lighthouse, the great light of his love and mercy, so that the entire world might see and know. And then he's given us, who have come to trust in Jesus Christ, he's given us the responsibility of keeping the lower lights burning. Dwight L. Moody, that great evangelist some years ago, was preaching a message, and he said that as he closed the message, he said, "Brethren, remember that God's mercy will keep the lighthouse burning. But what we must do is keep the lower lights burning." You see, the great lighthouse, I've learned, the great light at the top of the lighthouse is to warn ships who may be in a storm. It's dark, they're out there on the ocean, they don't know exactly what their bearings are. And that light from that lighthouse will help guide them to the shore and to the inlet into a safe harbor. But once they enter that inlet and then start into that harbor, there's treacherous rocks and shoals all along the entranceway. And there must be lower lights, smaller lights burning all along the shore. God has said, I'll keep my great light of love and mercy burning so that all men can see it and many will turn to it for safety. But be sure you keep the lower lights burning, Christians, followers of Christ. Be sure that your testimony is bright so others can see and find a safe way into the shelter and the peaceful docking that the Lord Jesus Christ will give them in a storm-tossed world. I thought about the song that Philip Bliss wrote years ago that goes along those lines. It's called Let the Lower Lights Be Burning. As a matter of fact, he was in the attendance in that Moody meeting when D.L. Moody mentioned this in his sermon, and he went home quickly and wrote the lyrics and the music to this great song. Listen to it. His first verse says, brightly beams our Father's mercy from his lighthouse evermore. But to us he gives the keeping of the lights along the shore. Dark the night of sin has settled, loud the angry billows roar. Eager eyes are watching, longing for the lights along the shore. Trim your feeble lamp, my brother, some poor sailor tempest-tossed, trying now to make the harbor in the darkness may be lost. Let the lower lights be burning, send the gleam across the wave. Some poor struggling, fainting seaman you may rescue, you may save. Reminds me again that we have an awesome responsibility to let our lights for Jesus Christ shine, that our testimony would be radiant, and we'd be warning people in the world every day, sharing with them the great love of God and warning them of the punishment that comes for all who refuse to trust in Jesus Christ and follow God's way. Well, I hope that'll be an encouragement to you a little bit today. Hey, let's keep the lights shining. There may be somebody come across your path today that won't know the way, and you'll have the privilege to share Christ with them in these storm-tossed days in our world. Well, have a good day, and I hope to see you here again tomorrow on Morning Encouragement.